Good afternoon and welcome to the Pan-African News right here on Pan-African Television with me, David Attoh. Let's do our headlines for this afternoon's bulletin. Now, coming up this afternoon, man attempts suicide on Carnation Market overpass. Also coming up in this bulletin, unidentified policeman slaps a woman at a registration center. Plus, Carlos Ahinkra recovers from coronavirus. Also coming up in business, we have 1,200 horticultural exporters lose $1.6 million to COVID-19. Details of this stories plus many others coming up shortly. Please stay. Back. Pan-African News is live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. We also strongly felt in 32 African countries via satellite and other digital platforms. Let's do our first story for this afternoon's bulletin. Now, a rather bizarre incident happened at the Carnation Market Sunday when a young man attempted to commit suicide on the overpass. Footage of the act, which has been in circulation since Sunday morning, captures the unidentified man holding onto what appears to be a metal which forms part of the overpass.
The fear of leaving the metal and dropping dead caught the attention of passersby who made attempts to stop him from the heinous act. Having hung up there for more than 4 minutes amidst concerns as to what could have informed his decision to attempt to commit suicide, he was eventually saved. A truck stood beneath the overpass to aid some 2 men to climb to rescue him.
Away from that story, rather a bizarre incident there. Now, unidentified policeman has been captured in an amateur video footage dealing with a prospective female voter registrant in a slap situation during an altercation between the two. The cause of the exchanges between the law officer and the civilian is yet unknown.
The officer was seen warning the woman that he would not allow her in to register if she is not careful. Just before the slap followed a few seconds later, a man was seen restraining the officer from hitting the woman, but he surged and lunged at the woman with a slap. Other people around restrained the riled woman from retaliating, while the officer was also held away, thus averting a full-blown fisticuffs between the uniformed man and the civilian. Both the officer and the civilian are yet to be identified.
Let's also stay with the registration exercise because the Member of Parliament for Tema West, Carlos Ahinkra, we all know, reported positive for COVID-19, has been declared fit to run, its normal business. This follows a letter issued to him by the Ghana Health Service, informing him of, testing positive 2 times after testing negative.
Quoting the letter, the Ghana Health Service wishes to inform you that you have obtained 2 consecutive negative laboratory test results for COVID-19. For this reason, You are deemed to have recovered from COVID-19 infection and so can return to work. The letter signed by Director General Dr. Patrick Kumabuaji said GHS has further advised him to continue to observe the WHO precautionary measures against the virus. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on Friday, 3rd July 2020, accepted the resignation of Mr. Ahenkura from office as the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industries following the MP's admission that he breached some COVID-19 protocols. When asked a person certified to be positive for the virus, he visited a registration center in his constituency before the period of self-isolation was complete. A letter from the presidency signed by Mr. Eugene Ahen, Director of Communications, said President Akufo-Addo is admonishing all of his appointees to bear in mind that they are to provide leadership at all times for adherence to the protocols that have been established to help the nation defeat COVID-19. In accepting the resignation, Nana Akufo-Addo recognized that Mr. Ahenkura had acted honorably in the circumstances by resigning from his office and wished him well.
Now let's do some sanitation-related story. And as part of President Akufo-Addo's vision of making Accra one of the cleanest cities in Africa, the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, in collaboration with Zoom Lion Ghana Limited, has donated 5 double-cabin pickups to the Ghana Armed Forces to enforce compliance with all sanitation bylaws in the Accra metropolis.
The Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, in conjunction with waste management giants Zoom Lion, have handed over 5 pickups to the Ghana Armed Forces as part of efforts of promoting a cleaner Accra. The Chief of Defence Staff, Obed Buama Akwa, was full of praise for the ministry over the continuous support the Ghana Armed Forces receive in promoting health sanitation in the country.
We appreciate the support of the ministry over the time that we've been collaborating. And it will be recalled that not too long ago, the ministry presented 600 160-liter waste bins to the Ministry of Defense and also to the Ghana Armed Forces to enhance sanitation in the barracks. We also appreciate the collaboration that we have had so far with Zoom Lion Ghana Limited. Honorable Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, in order that I may be short in my speech, I'd like to end here and to say once again how honored we are to have all of you here on this special occasion.
The Minister of Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Dapa, commended the armed forces for their support in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic in the country and pledged her support to equip the armed forces to do more.
To also make sure that there is maintenance and sustainability of this effort, hence the presentation this morning. Oliver Twist will say, we'll ask for more so that we can also send some to the Ministry of Interior to also help in these efforts. I must place on record that every time we appeal humbly to the Minister of Defense to help us manage the cleaning anywhere in Ghana, he is ever ready with his able team to help us.
The Minister of Defense, Dominic Nitiwo, expressed satisfaction about the work of the ministry and Zoom Lion in achieving the vision of the President of making Ghana one of the cleanest cities in West Africa. He urged the armed forces to put the vehicles to good use by monitoring and ensuring adherence to all sanitation laws for a healthy nation.
These vehicles will be used for the monitoring of the environmental sanitation program by the Ghana Armed Forces. And to the officers who will carry out these tasks, please ensure that the job is done and done professionally. Ghana Armed Forces has the respect of the population. That is why when it comes to programs like this, the ministry will want to partner with the Ghana Armed Forces. Please don't fail the nation. Do your work with a human face, but do it with efficiency and professionalism. Mr. Minister, I want to assure you that the vehicles will be properly maintained to carry out the tasks in order to achieve the intended purpose for which they are presented.
Ahead of the break, the Ministry of Education placed down calls for closure of senior high schools across the country. Details of these stories plus others coming up after this break.
Breakfast good day, every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Breakfast good day, every day. Every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the FDA.
Back, you're still live with us right here at Pan-African Television, and it's midday news on Pan-African Television. Now, let's still, stay focused on COVID-19, but also to remind you that this bulletin is live on Facebook at Pan-African Television. You can also reach out for me also on Attoh's Watch with your Facebook comments, and I'll get back to you right after the bulletin. Let's move away and go into COVID-19 related stories. Now, Ghana's confirmed cases when it comes to COVID-19 currently stands at 23,000 plus. Meanwhile, over 13 senior high schools across the country are reporting cases of COVID-19. But the Ministry of Education is adamant and is playing down attempts or calls by some, education experts to close down schools across the country.
The Ministry of Education, Ministry of Local Government, Rural Development, and the Ghana Education Service have undergone disinfection exercise carried out by Zoomlion Ghana Limited as part of efforts to curb the spread of the virus in these ministries. The Director of Communications of the Ministry of Education, Vincent Eko Asafua, explains the importance of the exercise to the media.
Now, it has also become necessary for us to be able to fumigate our ministry, basically because we feel that the numbers are going high and we need to protect our ministry. And so we decided, as per the directive from the leadership of the ministry and the Ghana Education Service, to fumigate the ministry and the Ghana Education Service to ensure that going forward we will be able to protect ourselves, especially the staff, from the coronavirus pandemic.
He also revealed that only 13 students contracted the virus in the various senior high school in the country.
Now, even if you look at the numbers, as we speak, about 13 of our students have been able to or has contracted the coronavirus across the country. Now, if you are looking at 13 out of the plethora of students that we have in this country, and if you may have to even use schools, and more specific, secondary schools, we have about 700 senior high schools in this country. So if you have about 4 or 5 of them having issues as far as coronavirus is concerned, it may not be a good number enough to say that those who are in Opokuwari will have to close down because there's no instance or there's no case in Opokuwari school.
Mr. Safua further disclosed that all close associations of the Ministry of Education tested positive have recovered and will get back to work soon.
Apart from him, all of them are also asymptomatic. So what it means is that none of them had shown any signs of coronavirus. And for that matter, they were all well. As we speak, I can say on record that those who are part of his inner circle and contracted the coronavirus are well. They are not showing any signs of coronavirus, and I'm sure that in no time they will resume to work.
Vincent Attoh Asefua, the Communications Director at the Ministry of Education, giving reasons why the Ministry of Education would not close down schools across the country, even in the midst of the spike in COVID-19 cases. And don't forget, there are reports coming in, if they don't know, of students getting sick regularly on the various campuses across the country. And it's just sensitive that government will listen to the calls out there, one, from education experts, two, from parents and guardians who have their wards in the various secondary schools across the country. And I'm asking this question, and you can go onto Facebook and join us, that if you have your child there, the big men, the ministers, and those in the Ministry of Education, if you have your child or your ward in any of these secondary schools, would you be safe to leave that child in that school, looking at what is gradually going on across the country? Now we are also informed that the virus is airborne, so nobody is safe. And especially, we are not safe when the kids are in school. So I think that the government must listen to these calls before the unforeseen happens. Now, let's move away from the school situation, still dwelling on COVID-19. Let's go to the camp of the National Democratic Congress, because the flag bearer of the NDC and former president, John Dramani Mahama, has been touring some registration centers in the Volta region, to monitor and assess the process so far. Some of the places he toured over the weekend includes Ho Central, Akachi North, Ketu South, Akachi South, and South Town constituencies.
John Dramani Mahama was briefed by the regional executives of the NDC who have been monitoring the process. Mr. Mahama also interacted with some of the personnel of the EC in charge of the various processes, as well as the party agents monitoring the process. Meanwhile, Mahama's running mate, Professor Nana Jean Opoku Ajiman, has expressed appreciation for the support that greeted the announcement of her new role. The former Minister of Education, who also served as the first female Vice-Chancellor of a public university in Ghana, was on Monday announced by the flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress ahead of this year's presidential election. That announcement has been greeted with enthusiasm and support from people from all walks of life, including academia, civil society, as well as professional and women groups. The social media has also been awash by the support for Prof. Opoku Ajiman.
From Ghana, we take you to Burkina Faso to look at issues, involving the presidency in that part of the country. Now, the ruling party in Burkina Faso, People's Movement for Progress, has backed President Roch Marc Christian Kabore to rerun for election, despite struggling to crush a badly jihadist insurgency. Simon Compaore, president of the party, made the announcement to cheering supporters at a stadium rally in the capital, Ouagadougou.
The decision, which came after several hours of closed-door discussions among party delegates, came as little surprise, as he was his party's only candidate to run. According to Mr. Compaore, the decision is a message to opposition political parties. President Kabore himself could not attend the event because of his role, said a party executive. But in a message read out by a party spokesman, he welcomed the decision and promised to build solidarity and development in the country. Thousands turned out in a massive show of force, filling a 5,000 capacity sports stadium in Ouagadougou and 20 giant tents outside. Crowds wearing the party colors of white and orange had been buzzed in from all the country. The Prime Minister, National Assembly Speaker and First Lady also turned up at the stadium, ignoring the coronavirus pandemic to voice support as the crowd inside the stadium chanted victory for MPP. Since Kabore took charge, however, a jihadist offensive has advanced across the nation, igniting ethnic squabbles, claiming at least 1,100 lives and forcing nearly 1 million people from their homes. Kabore's performance during this mounting crisis is now under scrutiny as the presidential ballot looms in November.
Into the world of business right after this break. Please stay.
Oh, it's incredible! Bang on target!
On Pan-African News with me, David Otokuno Attoh. Now let's go into the world of business and look at what is happening. Now, Ghanaian vegetable and fruit exporters are unable to send consignments to their buyers in Europe and other international markets due to the lack of demand arising from the COVID-19 pandemic. The situation has led to the exporters losing their produce, estimated at $1.6 million along the value chain. The produce ranges from okra, pepper, chilies, pineapple, and banana, citrus, and mangoes.
According to the Vegetable Producers and Exporters Association of Ghana, about 200 vegetable and fruit exporters had so far lost a minimum of $1.6 million to post-harvest losses from March this year, when most foreign countries implemented restrictions on human movement. The president of Vegetable Producers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Mr. Felix Kamasa, who made this known in an interview in Accra, observed that the situation was having a negative impact on the industry. Since the virus was noticed in Europe, for instance, he explained vegetable and fruit exporters had been hard hit, with the estimated financial cost differing from one exporting firm to another because buyers, who were mostly in Europe, ceased their intake of supply due to the implementation of restrictions on human movement.
Now, from the fruit industry, let's go to the within this time of COVID-19. Now, the emergence of the novel COVID-19 has presented an opportunity for all the stakeholders in the non-traditional export value chain under the Ghana Export Promotion Authority to be creative enough in order to increase demand. The Deputy Chief Executive Officer in charge of Human Resource at Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Albert Kasim Dirora, advised industry players to carefully study the dynamics of the market to improve quality of products to attract investment.
Mr. Albert Kasim Dirora made the call when the Ghana Export Promotion Authority's GEPA presented personal protective equipment and hygiene materials to the Upper East Regional Act and Craft Village in Bolgatanga. The item include 150 cartons of alcohol-based hand sanitizers, 150 pieces of nose masks, liquid soaps, tissue paper, Veronica bucket, water basins, and dust bins to help curb the spread of the pandemic. The Deputy CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority further stated that leadership of the outfit shares in the pain of producers and exporters of non-traditional exports. He said GEPA is committed to working hard in realizing the government's vision of industrializing the economy through various key policies.
Let's give you a health tidbit on COVID-19. You remember the president says we should eat more local foods to boost our immune system. And we have a health tip for you. This time we're taking you to the world of kontomire. Cocoyam, a starchy edible tuber which has broad greenish leaf, is grown in several places around the world. The leaves of the tuber, locally known as kontomire, it has several nutritional benefits which help boost the immune system.
The leaf, which contains about 154 milligrams of vitamin C, helps in the boost of the immune system. Kontomire also prevents cancer because it is rich in vitamin C, which acts as an antioxidant. The leaf, which is equally rich in vitamin A, is good for the eyes and helps maintain its visual activities to prevent eye diseases such as myopia, cataract, and blindness. Again, the high dietary fiber in kontomire aids digestion and prevents digestive problems. Kontomire, which has no cholesterol with only 1% of total fat, serves as the best diet for reducing cholesterol. Kontomire should not be taken as a raw vegetable or consumed in its raw state. They should be soaked first in clean water and be cooked for at least 10 to 15 minutes.
Freshly prepared kontomire stew with rice or plantain, cassava. How do you feel? Just waiting your appetite for this afternoon's meal. Now, after this break, I'll take you to the world outside Ghana for international news. I'll be back after this.
Everything has been installed. Yes. Okay. I will be fine, guys.
Yeah, but this debate tonight.
Tell you guys to keep long, go do the far job. Tell high tech.
She the lie bad could happen tonight. This are no fence.
Couldn't get in this time.
How come?
Security warehouse.
Smart choice. I guess you have some footage for me there. Crystal clear picture. Pause. I think I know this man. He has a long history with robbery and rape. You are fortunate to have equipped your house with gadgets from security warehouse. Call it in. We'll begin the investigation from here.
Control, come over.
international stories. Now we take you first to Belgium. Now the COMAC students group in Belgium has initiated a survey to understand the increasing inequality among Belgium students and problems faced by the students during the lockdown. The survey was initiated on July 4th last week in the backdrop of the controversies regarding the enrollment for the students the next year who have failed in the online exams due to lack of access and infrastructure.
Even though the Higher Education Minister, Valerie Glatini, guaranteed better qualification rates in colleges and universities, COMAC has called for all the numbers to be published and said that the minister should not remain blind to inequality on which an overall success rate does not say anything. In the aftermath of widespread campaigns and demands from student groups including COMAC, Federation of French-Speaking Students, FEF, and political parties including the Workers' Party of Belgium, PTB, and PVDA, the incumbent coalition parties in the Belgian Parliament, tabled a decree this week allowing students to remain financiable next year in the event of failure in this very special year of the COVID-19. That means each student will be able to re-register next year. Earlier, the Workers' Party of Belgium had made a proposal in the Federal Parliament in June calling for special consideration to students who failed the exams while organizing remedies this summer and next quarter in order to catch up due to the crisis. Earlier, COMAC has also organized a campaign demanding to replace exams with formative assessments, especially during the COVID-19 period. Online courses and exams pose enormous problems, having impacted the quality of education and have also increased inequalities in higher education. 1 in 4 students does not have an adequate place to study, added COMAC.
Let's take you to Turkey now, where the Communist Party of Turkey, TKP, has condemned the decision of Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan to convert the Hagia Sophia Museum in Istanbul to a mosque. On Friday, the right-wing stalwart Erdogan has signed a decree permitting to use Hagia Sophia Museum as a mosque.
TKP has said that this is a conflict between reactionism and secularism. TKP has also accused that not only Erdogan's right-wing Justice and Development Party, but many stalwarts in the Republican People's Party in opposition are enthusiastic about the conversion of Hagia Sophia into a mosque. In their statement on Saturday, TKP has stated that the religious fundamentalism of AKP has transformed each and every public institution in Turkey, including law, academia, education, press, and every other aspect of second life, rendering these areas being dominated by the rules of Islam. TKP has repeatedly addressed the anti-worker role of reaction and religious fundamentalism, oppressing every single bit of resistance within the working class and replacing the organized power of united workers with apolitical obedient masses. The danger of reactions is more than the surface appearance of it. The progressive sections in Turkey view this as a dangerous ploy by Erdogan to compensate for his declining popularity by appeasing the religious orthodox sections and consolidate their support in his fold. Hagia Sophia is an epitome of the Byzantine architecture, which was built on AD 537 and functioned as a church till the fall of Constantinople in 1453. Since then, it has been used as a mosque by Ottoman rulers, which was later converted into a museum in 1935 on the order of the first president of Turkey, Mustafa Kemal Attoh. The Communist Party of Greece, KKE, has also condemned Erdogan's policy and Hagia Sophia and stated that the decision on Hagia Sophia reflects the escalation of Turkish aggression, which is supported by the imperialists.
To France next, where the research community in France, under the leadership of the faculties and labs in struggle, has protested against the controversial LPPR and Welcome to France program by the French government, intended to commercialize and privatize higher education and research institutions in the country. Already, protests have taken place in Paris, Lyon, Nice, and Montpellier.
Activists from Inter-Hospital Collective, National Union of Students of France, Fédération Syndicale Unitaire, and the General Confederation of Labour has joined the protest in Paris. The Union of Communist Students has organized the online campaign against LPPR on Wednesday. LPPR, Pluriannual Research Programming Law, is a bill conceptualized by Emmanuel Macron's government by the end of 2019, whose official aim is to plan the budget for research and universities. This bill aims to increase the competition for grants between research teams and to get rid of a legal framework guaranteeing job stability and stipulating the teaching hours. It calls for converting permanent researcher posts to contract vacancies based on the tenure of research projects. So far, university teachers and researchers in France have a public servant status. According to reports, the Minister of Higher Education, Research and Innovation, Frederic Vidal, has geared up to rush the formalities to pass the bill soon. The bill was examined in June by the National Council for Higher Education and Research and was presented to the Council of Ministers on July 8. The date of a parliamentary vote is not yet fixed. Welcome to France is a plan initiated by French government in 2018 to streamline the flow of foreign students to French universities, which is denounced by progressive sections as a tool to offer admission to affluent foreign students and denying access to students from poorer backgrounds. Towards the mobilization on July 8, faculties and labs in struggle has stated that while the health crisis has shown in faculties and labs, as in the public hospital, the deleterious effects of a public service breakage policies carried out by the last government, our minister wants to impose on us a law that promises us even more great casualization and development of project research. However, this late advice, by hampering long-term research, is one of the cause of our impossibility of providing solutions to the epidemic. Union of Communist Students has stated that to build the world of tomorrow, you need to invest in public research, upgrade the work of researchers. The state should not divest of research as the current French government does. Faculties and labs in struggle, which has been leading the struggle against the LPPR. Since his inauguration as the President of France in May 2017, Emmanuel Macron has been pursuing EU-driven neoliberal policies promoting privatization and austerity that are having a devastating effect on every sphere of people's lives across France. His government's policies in the field of education, including the baccalaureate reforms, orientation of réussite des étudiants, réussite des étudiants law, etc., has also drawn widespread criticism and protests.
From the international community, a special thanks to our international partners, People's Dispatch. Coming up next is Sport with Eve Edwards. Please stay.